Hello and welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras.
And I'm Natasha Kirchak. Coming up in today's newscast, Iran announces plans to further break the JCPOA nuclear deal.
We'll reveal the new Israeli app that promises to change how you play sports forever.
And get ready for a tasty Israeli surprise that may just change the future of how the world consumes sweets. Well, it's already the middle of November. We're entering winter, but how are you feeling, Aaron?
Honestly, it's really hot. It's like 90 degrees outside still.
I know, and I usually love the warm weather, but this ongoing heat is actually a much bigger deal than you might imagine. Brush fires are breaking out across Israel. Well, firefighting teams are battling raging flames both by foot and by air that are being caused by the heat and the dry weather. And they have to work quickly because a lot of these fires are close to reaching private homes outside of Jerusalem and Hadera.
Yeah, and we're even being told actually that the Fire and Rescue Commissioner has since announced a ban on all open fires until Thursday, when the heat is forecasted to die down. So please lay low on all of the barbecuing and such.
All right, well, following the United States withdrawal from northeastern Syria, the region has again erupted with violence, and Iran is taking advantage.
And while Israeli officials have refrained from publicly criticizing the White House directly, Prime Minister Netanyahu and many others have sounded the alarm, saying that Iran is only being emboldened by the vacuum created by the United States.
Well, apparently in light of these concerns, U.S. General Kenneth Mackenzie Jr. has arrived for a visit. General Mackenzie is the head of the U.S. military's Central Command, or CENTCOM, and this arrival marks the second time in a year and the second time ever that a CENTCOM commander has come to Israel, which may very well speak to chaos in the region.
But while Mackenzie's official itinerary hasn't been released, his visit coincides also with recent announcements from the United States' Joint Chiefs of Staff. According to Chairman General Mark Milley, U.S. troop levels in northern Syria will remain at around 500 to 600, and these announcements don't seem like they're directly intended for Israeli protection, though.
Instead, to many like the Kurdish forces who were previously allied with the U.S., leaving this small force is a betrayal and an insult, especially as ISIS is now seeing a resurgence. Russia's becoming a bigger player, and Iran and Turkey continue to become more aggressive.
Speaking of Iran, the Ayatollah regime in Tehran has some big news to share, and as expected, none in the West are very happy. In the latest series of slaps to the face of the 2015 Iranian nuclear deal, aka the JCPOA, Iranian officials have announced that they are now enriching uranium at up to 5%, with the capacity of rising to 60%. However, the 2015 deal sets the uranium enrichment limits at 3.67%, as that's all that's needed for nuclear power. So once again, this breach reveals a blatant lie. That is, Iran's insistence it does not seek nuclear weapons. Israel, on the other hand, insists the opposite, and an IAEA report released on Sunday actually seems to confirm Israeli suspicions of a nuclear warehouse in Turkuzabad. Israel flagged the site last year, and the IAEA just found traces of uranium. Iran, however, says this is a trap designed by the Zionist regime. And then within just 24 hours of this first major announcement, Iran's state TV reported that construction has begun on a second power reactor at the Bushehr plant in southwestern Iran. Bushehr lies in the banks of the Persian Gulf, and it runs on uranium enriched to 4.5%, which again already is in violation of the 2015 deal. But Iran has made clear that it will not respect the tenets of the agreement anymore, especially after President Trump withdrew the U.S. from the accords and ramped up sanctions, which have since wreaked havoc on the Iranian economy. Iran appears unfazed, though, and is continuing to look for new partners to support its economy, particularly through its oil reserves, which have now been boosted by up to a third with the discovery of a new field. This field is likely the second largest in Iran, and it holds an estimated 53 billion barrels of crude oil.
چشم همه دشمنان ملت ایران در اون ایامی که شما فروش نفت ایران را تحریم کردید و بر ملت ما فشار آوردید. کارگران عزیز ما، مهندسین عزیز ما توانستند 53 میلیارد بشکه نفت را در یک مخزن بزرگ کشف کنند. اگر 1% بازیافت این میدان نفتی بیشتر بشه 32 میلیارد دلار درآمد ما بیشتر میشه.
Well, now joining us for more on regional security and the implications of Iran's recent announcements, we have Middle East expert and chairman of the Professors for a Strong Israel, Dr. Mordechai Kedar. Thanks for joining us. Now, is Iran trying to promote a direct confrontation with Israel? We talk about Iran all the time, but what is the threat? Is this more real than ever?
Well, for this you have to understand the mindset of those ayatollahs. They are under pressure, no doubt, especially the economic pressure, which is maintained by the United States. But instead of running away from the pressure, they decided to run to the front, means to attack those who threaten them. Of course, they don't attack the states, but they attack their allies. Saudi Arabia, what we saw in the 14th of September, they are threatening Israel now by all kinds of actions. And this, by the way, what I think is the reason why Israel doesn't do anything in Syria for the last more or less 2 months.
Right.
And this is what they actually try to, it's called brinkmanship, to walk on the edge of the problem. If you do something to them, everybody will blow up. And this is actually what they try to create. Right. However, they start now to have another problem, which is the demonstrations in Lebanon, in Iraq, and a few days ago started in Ahwaz, inside Iran. And this is something which they did not expect, because now the fire is in their backyard. What this will lead to, I have no idea, because the process of these demonstrations are actually undermining today the Iranian grip in Lebanon because of the challenge to Hezbollah. It undermines the stability which they try to achieve in Iraq, and most importantly, it is undermining what happens in Iran, in the Ahwaz, where the Arabic speaking region. And this is what the big news, and this might change the way which Iran tries to challenge the others by running forward instead of running away from the problem.
So I guess my next question then is what is the biggest driving factor, the biggest driving force behind these protests that are now erupting in Iran? Is it the Iranian economy? And if so, does the discovery of 53 billion barrels of oil that they just announced over the weekend, does that maybe help fix that issue in a way?
Not at all. This quantity of oil was found in that region, in Ahwaz, the Arabic-speaking region of Iran. However, the local people do not see anything out of it, not even a penny. It is being taken out to funnel the money into the wheels of the regime in Tehran, of the Persians and the Arabs. By the way, they call themselves the occupied territories. Since 1925, when Iran took over this area. Okay, so it's a matter of location where the occupied territories are. Okay, so what I'm saying is they are actually demonstrating because they are in the margin, they are oppressed, they are persecuted by the central government. Every morning almost, they go out to the street, to work, and they see cranes with people hung up from the cranes. This is how the regime treats these people, these Arabs, and they want Israel to help them.
So let's talk
to be liberated from the Iranian occupation.
Now, Dr. Kedar, we don't have much time left, but Israel now has a new defense minister. How should he be dealing with threats? Is he equipped to be able to do that?
I'm not sure how long he will be in office. Weeks? Months? I have no idea, because it's an interim government. So I'm not at all sure that he can introduce any change in anything it's a matter of politics, how to run the country until there is a government or coalition. This is only an interim thing. I don't think it should be expected too much from a man who comes to office and doesn't really know how long he will be there.
We'll see when we have a new government, right? All right, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Kedar.
Pleasure.
In other news, as reports of anti-Semitism continue to grow across Europe, Greece is now announcing a plan that it hopes will stem the tide.
ILTV's Shanna Fold has the report.
Making good on promises from earlier this year, officials in Greece are now announcing multiple initiatives to fight anti-Semitic hate. And first on the list is the adoption of the IHRA, or the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism. The IHRA defines anti-Jewish hatred as any discrimination or hate against Jews, including Holocaust denial, holding Israel to double standards, denying Jewish self-determination, and, occasionally, criticisms of Israel. And not only did Greece adopt this definition, but officials have also begun coordinating the integration of this definition into domestic legislation and education. Despite the good intentions, though, there's a long road ahead in the fight against racism in Europe. In fact, just in the past few weeks, Denmark reported the desecration of another 80 graves at a Jewish cemetery. Sweden posted a 53% jump in anti-Semitic hate crimes, hitting an all-time high. Half of the Jews in the UK are threatening to leave pending the results of their upcoming election, and Liliana Segre, an Italian Holocaust survivor/senator, is receiving a torrent of death threats. She's even been assigned a security detail in response to the intimidation, which Israeli President Rivlin was appalled to learn about. In a letter to Segre on Twitter, Rivlin said he deeply regrets her circumstances and that he commends her strength and bravery as she carries on in her duties.
Israeli soccer fans are jumping for joy over this next story. In fact, I just stuttered about it. Global soccer stars Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez are coming to Israel to represent their national teams of Argentina and Uruguay in a friendly game here in Tel Aviv on November 18th.
And now we may be excited, but BDS supporters are doing what they can to completely cancel it. And since both of these international footballers play side by side on the Barcelona team, the training camp there has actually become the new target for BDS protesters.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's right. During the course of the weekend, protesters stood in front of the site demanding the match be called off. Well, that would be a lot of tickets refunded as the entire stadium is sold out for this anticipated competition.
Yeah, in a statement, the BDS movement actually said that Israel uses the prestige of champion teams to sports wash its regime of oppression. And just 1 year ago, a soccer match was dismantled in Jerusalem due to BDS pressures when the game between the national teams of Israel and Argentina were set to play in Jerusalem.
But this actually will not be the first time that some of these soccer legends have played in Israel. Messi and the FC Barcelona team visited Israel in 2013 during a peace tour. I met them there, actually. And that aimed to bring Palestinian and Israeli kids together on the field. So we're going to keep you posted if we hear of any changes to the status of this competition. But of course, we hope that there won't be any.
Absolutely.
Please.
All right, but moving on, what's the difference between a fighter pilot and a soccer player?
Well, I'm pretty sure the answer to that is everything, but a former IDF flyer disagrees. In fact, he thinks that there's so much crossover between the two professions that he drew upon his experience in the air to come up with a technology that helps athletes improve their game on the ground. And ILTV's Nittany Manson has the story.
While it was previously thought that you could improve a player's on-field abilities by, well, practicing on the field, an Israeli company has developed a software to improve the cognitive competence of athletes off the field. And Danny Danker, the CEO of Applied Cognitive Engineering, uses his Israeli Air Force experience as inspiration for a training system that teaches athletes 8 cognitive functions, including prejudgment and memory enhancement.
In fact, when you do a brain review of what are the skills that you need in order to be a good competitive athlete, it's actually very similar to a fighter pilot, because you need to read your surroundings, you need to have to make very fast decisions, and you need to execute those decisions. You also need to be concentrated for a long time. You need to know what is going on around you all the time.
The system was rolled out first in 2015 to train hockey players, but once coaches saw the results, Danker developed the system for soccer players as well, and currently 35,000 players use the training system. Also, a joint German-Dutch test found that players progressed by 20 to 40% after working with the system for just 3 months' time.
That is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
All right, now speaking of sports, Israeli players have just recently returned from India, where they participated in yet another competitive gaming tournament but it may not be what you expect.
No, because we're talking about Scrabble, and one of Israel's Scrabble champions is actually here today in the studio. So please welcome professional Scrabbler and sociology lecturer at the Open University, Omri Rosenkrantz. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So how did we do? Did we win?
Well, one of us did better. My better half finished the top half of the draw.
Okay.
And I unfortunately have to say that even though I had a very nice start, I finished at close to the bottom.
And just to clarify, you guys were playing at the 2019 World English Scrabble Players Association Championship. So for all those who didn't know that there is an international competition that more people play Scrabble, there is. I would probably fail almost immediately, if we're going to be honest. So tell us a little bit about your partner and how you guys got into this professionally.
Well, he actually established the Tel Aviv Scrabble Club 20 years ago, 1999, and I just followed suit a few years later. So he's much more experienced than me, and he's a better player. But
how do you prepare for? I mean,
you study words. And you practice, because the game is not only about lexicon, not only about knowing words. It has a lot of strategy and a lot of psychology and math. So
psychology. Can you delve into that a little bit?
You have to have mental strength to play the game well.
And endurance.
Yes. Yeah. And but we do have many levels of players, and we have weaker players with less stamina, and better players with more stamina.
You need a mental stamina. It's like getting through a TV show.
No, definitely.
he's like, no, it's a lot harder.
No, I don't know anything about that.
Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, I mean, go ahead.
No, I mean,
sorry,
well,
I'm like taking this
I mean,
over.
so like,
it's
tell us a little bit about the competition too. It was in Goa, India, correct?
It was in Goa, yes.
And I mean, how many countries were playing? How many competitors?
Dozens of countries. We had 140 players playing at the World Championships, and I think something like 200 more playing at the side tournament. Wow. And we actually have a tournament in Israel too annually, an international tournament.
But you know what? I have to applaud you guys, because I mean, you're a native Hebrew speaker, and this is in English. You have to know the dictionary through and through, basically.
I wish I did.
Yeah.
I wish I did, and aren't many people in the world who do. Maybe the world champion or the best player. But yes, it's a challenge, and it's part of the fun, I think.
Can you tell us about how you prepared, though, for this? Is there a process that you went
through?
Well,
besides playing a lot, which is the best way to practice, we also have this computer program which we use to study words and to rehearse words. And we actually we learn the patterns. We don't really know.
I was thinking the combinations of the letters,
exactly. To know the anagrams, I mean, which letters creates which words, and what you cannot put before and after a word.
All the kind of rules, and then you can kind of put things together and be confident that even if you don't know the definition.
Yes, and your opponent has to know if you're bluffing or not.
Oh boy!
And whether to challenge or not. There's so much information I can give you.
It sounds like so much better than the Scrabble I remember as a kid, too.
It's very different. Well, competitive Scrabble is much different than living room Scrabble. It's a whole different world.
Different world.
Yes, altogether.
Well, for me, it was always hard for me, not because of my lack. I love words. I love reading and writing, and so the knowledge was always there, but I just don't have the patience to sit through a game that.
So I have something to tell you.
Yeah.
You should come on Monday evening to the Tel Aviv Scrabble Club and join us and play with us. Every Monday. Tonight, I'm going straight from here. I'm going to our club.
We're going.
And you should come too. Yeah. Don't tell me you're bad at Scrabble.
We're going.
You don't know yet. Oh, good.
Oh no, I do. But we're still.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll turn you into a professional. Believe me.
All right.
I'm in.
All right. We'll see how that works.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, Natasha. So what's the buzz on this next story?
Oh, here we go. Well, Aaron, we have some sweet news out of the Haifa Technion Institute of Technology. A team of students have just taken home the gold for creating synthetic honey.
That's just unbelievable.
Yes, Aaron, it is. Anyway, ILTV's Shanna Fold has the scoop, and hopefully it's not going to be too corny.
It's a scoop of honey.
Beefree honey. That was the entry that hit the sweet spot for judges at MIT's iGEM competition this year. And the team that brought the idea forward was a group of students from Israel's Technion University in Haifa. The International Genetically Engineered Machine Competition, as it's called in full, has been running yearly since 2004 at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and this time it had over 300 teams participating from around the world. The contest judges synthetic biology, and the Technion team created the synthetic honey substance by using a bacteria called Bacillus subtilis, which after lab manipulation and reprogramming actually learned to produce honey on its own. This bacteria is most commonly found in the upper layers of soil, and some evidence shows that it can also exist inside the human gut. Honey is produced when a bee collects pollen and mixes it with an enzyme inside the bee belly. The students found a way to manipulate this bacteria to mimic that same process, all without one thing: the bee. And that means that the honey is totally vegan, which is just another plus, especially for Israel, which is a huge hub for people who don't eat animal products. This discovery could potentially be crucial to the honey industry, which has recently seen a global decline in the bee population. And while winning feels good, professors from the Technion say the intellectual property created during this project is equally as important.
All right, now we have ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh here with this week's Entertainment Rundown.
Hey guys, so first off, we are going to be talking about the Israeli actress Evgenia Dodina, who is joining on the third season of the acclaimed TV series Killing Eve, which is a spy thriller that has won over audiences in both the US and UK. The show stars Sandra Oh, who you may remember from the long-running TV series Grey's Anatomy.
She is one of my favorite actresses of all time.
Same with me.
She's hilarious. And she also hosted the Golden Globes this year.
Right.
And I think she even won an award for Best Actress in a drama series for her role in this
Killing
show.
Eve. Yes,
in
exactly.
Killing Eve, right?
That's right. It's the first time I've ever seen her play such a serious and intense role since I've seen her last on Grey's. But back to Dodina, the 54-year-old Israeli actress will join at least 6 other new cast members. However, there have been no words yet on their roles, so we'll patiently be waiting for that.
All right, well, what else do we have, coming up in the entertainment world?
Well, up next, the American Jewish Olympic gold medalist Ali Reisman will have a cameo in the latest Charlie's Angels film. She tweeted Wednesday night a series of photos captioned, "I'm officially an angel. Is this real life?" One of those photos was actually standing next to the film's director and co-writer Elizabeth Banks.
That's so cool. That's probably so exciting for
I know.
her.
I'll never forget her performance. So I think it was in the Olympics that she performed to Chava Nagila. I don't know.
Yeah, I got the chills when that actually happened, so it was actually really interesting.
Amazing.
But I'm sure it was just loved by everyone in terms of her performance and all that. But getting the chance to be an angel, that's just be amazing,
Well, it's a huge
especially
cameo.
for like a cameo. Exactly, just
Well,
like an
it
honor
also has
like
such
that.
strong feminist messages, Charlie's Angels. And
Right.
it focuses around a group of women. So.
Right. This is actually the third film produced since 2000 and is all based around the 1970s TV show of the same title. A group of young women, for those who've never seen it, work as private detectives in an agency run by the rich mystery man named Charlie.
I can't believe you even have to explain that.
I know,
Everybody
but
needs to
for
see
those
Charlie's
who don't
Angels.
know, it's
Well, I
only
mean,
fair.
after the last movies, I hate to talk bad, but after the last ones, I'm pretty excited about this remake kind
Yeah.
of.
It's going to be amazing, and the soundtrack is amazing. All right, so really quickly, last but never least, the menorah of the legendary Hollywood icon Marilyn Monroe, who passed away back in the 1960s, was recently sold at an auction and bought for over $110,000.
No big deal.
For menorah?
It's not just a menorah.
It's not just any menorah, it's Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah,
That's
Aaron,
true.
it's Marilyn.
Let's get our
True.
stuff together here.
Monroe was known as a very prominent 1950s sex symbol, model, and star of multiple Hollywood films, yet her connection with Judaism came when she married famed playwright Arthur Miller, and then converted in 1956. According to the Jewish Museum of New York, Monroe took time to study Judaic text with Miller's rabbi.
All right, so what's so special about the menorah other than the fact that
Yeah,
it was
relax, Aaron. Well, the brass-plated menorah actually could play the Israeli national anthem and was originally a gift from Miller's parents. Monroe had it in her possession when she passed, along with other Judaic items.
All right, well, that's amazing. But moral of the story, hold on to your menorahs.
Yeah.
Because you never know how much they're worth,
Yeah.
especially if you become famous.
Well,
Yep.
That's true, Aaron. I hope that one day your menorah will
that's
also
the
be worth
lesson. That's the
100.
I'm
lesson.
sure both of your
Exactly.
menorahs will be expensive.
Yes. All right, thanks, Emmanuel.
Of course.
All right, now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be clear to partly cloudy and warm with lows around 65 or 18 degrees Celsius. And then tomorrow you can expect clear skies and very little change in temperatures. The highs will sit at around 87 or 31 degrees Celsius, with only Jerusalem and Eilat breaking the mold. Jerusalem will be a bit colder at a high of 77 or 25 degrees Celsius, while Eilat will be a bit warmer at 91 or 33 degrees Celsius.
It's true, and that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.5 shekels to the American dollar. For more news from ILTV, please, as always, like ILTV on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. I'm Aaron Porras.
And I'm Natasha Kirchak. Thanks so much for watching.